Video, we are going to have a quick overview of ICE CSRF token, and we are going to see how can we use this in order to enhance the security when making some API calls to our ICE environment. First of all, we need to understand how AAA works for API war. In terms of the authentication, we need to know that we have two types of ERS administrators for making API calls. First option is to read only, and this means that this administrator will be only able to perform get calls in order to retrieve information from ICE. Second, admin privileges available on ICE is called the read and write, and as with other Cisco solutions, this is the full access administrators that we will have the privileges to create, read, update, or even delete resources from ICE. Last but not least, if we want to track the configuration changes made using API calls, there is one report available on the report portfolio on ICE called Change Configuration Audit. We are going to see a couple of examples, but it is important to understand that we will be able to track the changes and track what have been done using the API calls. Basic credentials is more than enough to perform API calls. However, there is an additional security feature called the CSRF token that ICE has in order to provide additional security. Token basically works in the authorization part, as you will need to provide a token as well as the credentials in order to perform the API call that you want. If you want to perform the API call without this token, you will receive a forbidden error in the HTTP header response, and this will indicate you that you are not authorized to make any API call without this token. With this in mind, let's get started. Okay, I have my ICE 2.4 here, but before going through the configuration, there are a couple of things that I want to show you. The first thing is the validation for the CSRF, and based on this API documentation for ICE 3.0, you can request a CSRF token by sending a GET request um, in ICE or using Python, or in my case I'm gonna use Postman. So in order to get our token, it is important to send the GET request, and you can use any GET call to receive this token. In this demo, I'm gonna use the internal user call in order to get the internal users that are existing on ICE. And as with this information, ICE will provide me with the token that I'm going to use later on to post a new user. As you note here, you can perform post, put, delete operations using the token. Get is not available for this function because this is basic information and it's only to retrieve information and data from ICE. If the token is missing or invalid, this is part of the validation. The server will return a 403 status code, which is the forbidden status. It is important to mention that based on this documentation is 3430, and it states that the default CSRF validation is on. However, in previous ICE version, this is turned off. So as we're gonna see in a moment, this info is only available and um, validate for 3.0 but not for other versions. Second part that I want to show you is based on this documentation. This is for 2.6, but it also applies for 2.4. You will be able to see what are the set of calls that you can use the token in order to enhance the security. As mentioned before, it is not possible to use the token for get calls as per documentation, and this is a good resource that you can double check if you want to make any call using the token. The first part is the ones that indicates what are the HTTP headers that need to be added into the request call, and the third part here is some media type or some additional headers that but those are not mandatory. Last but not least, we have the CSRF token header, and as you may note here, it says that require only if it is enabled from GUI. In order to use and take advantage of the token, we need to enable this feature on our ICE GUI. And important part is that we need to request a token using this format. Basically, we have the X um, CSRF token, and the result or the value that we are going to apply is the fetch one. All right, so let's start our testing by creating and enable the ERS service. In order to enable ERS service, we need to go to administration, system, settings, and it will take us to the settings for ICE in general. On the left side, we have the ERS settings. As you can see, this is not enabled by default, and there are some good information for you to review. In the first part, we have information regarding the ERS admin or ERS operator. The difference between one or the other is that the ERS operator will only have read-only access, while the ERS admin will have read and write or full access for API and ERS permissions. So let's go ahead and enable it. This is a normal um, um, message that you will see. It is enough to click on OK. And I'm gonna leave this as disabled so you can see what is the main difference between using only credentials versus using the token. So just for your information, for now you can this is where you will enable CSRF check. And important note is that this is not compatible, this is not supported with ICE versions 2.2 or below, but this is only available for 2.3 and above. 3.0, as we already know, it's it is already enabled by default, but not it is not the case of 2.4 at least. Probably in 2.6 and 2.7 this is also enabled, but for 2.4 at least this is not the case. Okay, so I already enabled the option. Click on the radio button. Let's click on save. ICE is indicating us that there have been some ERS configuration change. I'm gonna click on OK because this is exactly what we want. Once we got the server response, next step is to create the ERS admin. In order to create that, we need to go to admin access under the same system menu. Go to administrators on the left side and click on admin users. I already have some admin, but I will create a new one. In this case, I'm gonna name it as Emmanuel, which is my name. Sorry, I'm not going to put any space here. The password will be Cisco123. It's the super secret password, but not worry, I'm gonna delete this user later today. Important section that we need to consider and make sure we select the correct group is the admin group. As you see, this is the part where you assign this user to a specific admin group. We have the full access or super admin. Super admin, I think it's also functional for ERS, but in this case, I'm gonna go and click on ERS admin because I want to have read and write permissions. I'm gonna click on submit and hopefully we are going to see the result in a moment. Okay, we have Emmanuel and well, we already know the password. So this is all that we need to do in ICE for basic API calls communication. Okay, So as mentioned earlier, I'm gonna use Postman because um, I want to show you the purpose of the token rather than show you different options to create scripts or use some programming languages for making API calls. So if you are familiar with Python or any other language, feel free to use it. In my case, and the purpose of the demo is to show you tokens, so I'm gonna use Postman. And as you can see, I'm using simple URL to make the call in on ICE, which is the get. And this is the my ICE node for admin, the 9060, which is ERS port, and well, we are going to retrieve the internal user existing on my ICE environment. So the first step is to type the credential that we use um, in our ERS admin. Let me check which is this is okay. All right, and for the headers I'm gonna remove this because I don't want to get the information for the token as for now. I just wanted to leave it as it is. um, for the time I'm gonna leave it as basic authentication, and let's click on send and see what happened. The results should be successful, and it is successful. We have 200 status code here, which is fine. And as you may see, we have some internal users here. We have Lalo, a test user, etc. And this is a normal API call using credentials. Now, the next step is to create a token. Well, not create, but request a token. So I'm going to use the same API call to request a token. And as mentioned earlier, we need to use this format here in the um, request headers. I'm gonna paste this, and the value for CSRF token will be fetched in order to get the token that we are going to use in um, the post call later on. All right, so I have the fetch here, and I'm not gonna make any change on the credentials. Let's see what happened. um, Click on send one more time. We should be able to get information as with the last time. Okay, so please note here that the response headers now provide us to okay, no, it's not gonna work because I haven't enabled the CRF token. Okay, my mistake. Right, so let's go ahead and enable it. Go to settings, let's go to ERS settings, and now I'm gonna click on this radio button to enable CSRF check. Okay, click on it. I'm gonna click on OK, and let's try it one more time. It was a good testing because I'm sure that one uh, we always ask what happened if, so this is a good exercise for you. Okay, now that we have enabled it, let's try one more time our get call. Okay, let's click on get. Could not get response. Let me try and see what happened. um, okay, let's try one more time. I believe it's gonna be okay now. Okay, it's sending it. Should be able to get the information. Okay, CSRF token. Okay, please note here that we have already received the CSRF token, and we have received the information that we wanted to receive. So in the body part, we are receiving the same results. That means that the internal users, but the only difference here is that now we have received the CSRF token. This CSRF token will be used in our post call. So let me copy this, and to make this demo faster, I have already configured most of the headers here. Um, the only thing that I have changed is the token. So before paste the correct token, I'm gonna leave this as the invalid token because I want you to see what is the result. So um, we have the same URL, we have the same body. Well, in my case, I'm gonna create a new user name, Clark Ken. And what I'm expecting is that ICE will review the information in a specific the token, and given that the token is not valid, I will receive an 403 error as stats in this case for the documentation. Okay, so the username is Clark Kent, the password is Cisco12345, and password is fails. We have JSON, and the headers we have content type accept and CSRF token, but this is an invalid token. Okay, so let's send the post call and see what happened. This is the expected result. So as you may see, this is the response that ICE is sending to us, and the error that we are checking here is the 403, which is the same that we saw on the documentation. So if you know and if you see um, that the token is not the correct one, it doesn't matter if you have the correct credentials. Well, in my case, let me change that to Emmanuel. Um, if you don't see the correct credentials, this is not gonna work. And have if you have the credentials, but if you don't have the token, this is not gonna work because ICE will validate the token now and not only the credentials. And that's why I'm telling you that um, I, I'm saying that this is uh, additional layer for security, right? So let's try one more time and see what happened. We should have the same forbidden. Okay, we have okay forbidden, and now let's paste the correct token. Let's confirm this is the correct one. 6687. Let's pasted it. Give me a second. Okay, so 3430F1687, and click on hit, and we'll still have forbidden. And let's check it out. Why? We'll have Cisco 123 and a CSRF token. And alright, let me check what is that for. Maybe we need to disable this one and enable. I'm not sure if we have already saved it. Alright, let's save it and click one more time. Okay, it's still forbidden. And let's review the token that we receive. Copy one more time. I just request a new one, so let's test it out with this new token and see what happened. Okay, CCC. Okay. Oh, okay. So this is good because um, we have already sent the information. As you see, this is not the 403 error, but this is a 500 error, which is a different error. And look at the description of the body of the response. It says validation error. A user with that name already exists. So ICE will not only validate the token, but it also validate the username and the information we are sending using the API call. So what I'm going to do now is just to change the name, and I'm gonna say John, any name, John, William. That's it. I'm sending one more time. It should okay. Now we have um, create the user. We have 201 successful message code, and now let's take a look at our ICE and administration, sorry, identity management, identity. and now we will see the user that we just created using the API call. Okay, click on user and we will see the information. John William. Okay, John William is created, and as you see, it is easy to create the user using the API calls, and it is more secure to use on the token to make this call. Um, the last part I want to show you is the changes. As mentioned before, we have the ability to track all of those changes using change audit report. So if we go to the operations, click on reports, on the left side we are gonna see all the reports available for ISE. In specific, we are looking at the configuration changes made by admin. So click on change configuration admin and we are gonna see the changes made. So we have network access user, we have Emmanuel, which is our administrator, the server, what is the interface used to make this change. In our case is ERS, and we have the object name. In this case is John William. So for some reason you want to track what are the API calls making to your ICE environment, this is your best friend for this particular case. Additional and pretty interesting data here is that we as admin, this is super admin, using we have created and added Immanuel, which is the new user. So every single call that we make, it's gonna create a log that we will able to track using this report. All right, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Subscribe to my um, to my channel here at YouTube, and subscribe to my uh, blog. I'm gonna share with this information, don't worry about it, I'm gonna share this information on the video description. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on my next video.